Hello everyone, welcome to the next session of this training. In this particular session, we will be discussing about RFCs, that is remote function call. Here you can see some of the interfaces or interface technology which is used in SAP systems. SAP system use different kinds of interface technology. First one is ALE, which is application link enable. Second one is BAPI, that is business application program interface. BAPI, CPIC is common program interface communication. EDI you may also should have heard from a different ERP systems. EDI is electronic data interchange, and HTTPS, that is hypertext transfer protocol, which is secured. HTTP and HTTPS, which is quite common, which you know. And LU 6.2, that is logic unit type 6.2, this is also a communication standard. RFC is remote function call. OLE, that is object link embedding. SMTP, as we know, this is a simple mail transfer protocol. SOAP, that is simple object access protocol. TCP/IP, transfer control protocol and internet protocol. Then XML, that is extensible markup language. These are all the interfaces technologies which we can use in our SAP as well. Okay, first let us see what is remote function call. Remote function call, this RFC interface is an SAP interface protocol based on CPIC and TCP/IP. What it does is it simplifies the program communication between different systems. The RFC enables you to call an extended predefined functions in the remote system, or within the same system also we can use RFC. You can call an external system and process a function in an external system. Otherwise, we can also use RFC in the own system. Okay, this is very important. RFC generally we will use it to connect the external system. In cases you will also use RFC for your own system, that is called internal calls. There is some complex programming methods you have to use an RFC, internal RFC calls. We call this an internal RFC calls. Now you may have questions, why do I need to have an internal call? Anyway, whatever the program I can run it in the same systems. The scenario, you have a user which is in your SAP system and you want to run some specific function or some specific interface programs or some programs which you don't want this user to run it in the normal scenarios. These are all the challenges you will find when you are going for bigger systems. So that's the reason I'm trying to explain this one. This is very important to understand this concept. Let's say you have a program. This program should be triggered, should be executed in a special condition. In the business process you have some validations. Once you fulfill this validation, you need to run some batch jobs or you need to trigger some jobs. However, these jobs cannot be run by the same user, and this same user does not have these authorizations to do that, and you don't want to provide this authorization to the specific user. In that kind of scenarios, what we can do, if in a business process you done all the validation is passed, you can make an internal call to your own SAP system and run this program, special program which you want to run as a different user. Because the RFC call, you will use different users. We will see how to set up an RFC call. In the internal RFC, you will have a user which is more powerful than the actual user to call your own system and execute this program. So you as a user, when you log into your SAP system, or your end user, when they log into SAP system, they do not have to run, they don't have authorization to run this particular program. However, if they run some another program, the other program, you have some document, and based on the validation of that document, that program will execute these programs as a different user. That's a use of an internal RFC calls. Okay, but normally internal RFC calls are used in a very highly critical programs. One thing we need to understand, RFT describes an interface, not a programming language. Okay, RFC is basically an interface, it's not a programming language. You can also use RFC to call a function in a non-SAP system. We can have RFC connection from one SAP to another SAP system. So from the system which you are calling system, you can execute some function modules, some specific modules, function modules from this SAP system to the SAP system. So you will have a call function calling this SAP system and execute some function module here. And we can also connect non-SAP system, that's what we have seen, to an external system which is not an SAP system. Whereas what happens here is that you will have a DLL file, for example, the dynamic link library, which enables RFC connection from your SAP systems. Okay, so you will call this DLL to execute some specific program in this external systems. That's the way it works in the non-SAP systems. You will direct your RFC system to a specific DLL. From the DLL you can run or you can execute the specific program which you wanted to execute in the non-SAP systems. Maybe let's have a look into our system. What is this function module means? Let's go to our SAP system. So what is function module? We have seen yes E38, that is to create program. So function module so far what we have seen is it's a part of specific program, or it's a portion of a program which you can call from a SAP system, or you can call this function module from a different program. To run this function module, you need to go to the transaction code SE37. This is above function module. Then you will specify a function module here, function module name here. For example, let's go to a function module to read the table. We already know that if you run the XC16, if you run the transaction code SE16, you can browse a table. We can also get the data of a specific table using a function module. There is a standard function module which can be used in the program. Okay, the function module actually which we are going to see is a quite old function module which is now no more used, but it's very easy to understand. That's the reason I took this as an example. The function module is RFC underscore read underscore table. Okay, this is a function module, this is not a program, and if you can execute this function module from here, let's say test or execute. So using this function module, you can see here you can execute this function module in a different target, okay, or we can also execute in the local machine. For example, right now to show you how does this function module works, I will execute in the local systems. Okay, we will call a table, for example, USR02. This is a table which has the users. For example, let's say if I open it another session, go to SC16. Okay, I use the same table USR02. Now let's execute. Now you can see we have different users here. Okay, this is the standard way of looking into the table. So let's use a function module to see this particular table. Okay, so let's close this. So this is our table name, query table. So we are going to run the function module like it's like a program. Using this function module we can run a specific function. Okay, USR02, then I say execute. Now you can see different fields. I have data which is result 24. I have 24 entries in the data. If I go here, you can see the data here, like the same users, but it's in a different format. It's not in a correct format. You can see in a different format here. This is how to run a function module. You can specify a RFC target system, then you can run the function module on different target. Okay, we will come to that later. How to run it in a target system after creating our RFC system. So for our demo purpose, we have now two systems. Okay, we have ECC and ECQ, two systems. The ECQ also we can use it for our demo to call the RFC systems. Okay, this you can see this an ECQ system, and we have another ECC system. So we have two SAP system for our training purpose in during these sections. Okay, so how do we create an RFC? To create an RFC, you need to use the transaction code SM59. Okay, here you can see different RFC types. We will come to that. What is RFC? Then we can create RFCs here. Okay, so this is two different transactions. This transaction we can also go through our menu path. If you go to tools and go to ABAP workbench, then go to development, then function builder. Here you can see here SC37 function builder. Okay, or if you want to go through the RFC, you can go to tools, then go to administration, then you go to administration again. There you can see here network, you can see SM59 RFC destinations. Okay, in case you forgot the transaction code, then you can narrow down through the menu, as well as we already know how to search the menu. You can also search, then it will be easy to remember this. Okay, this is function modules and RFC. Okay, now let's see some more detail how it looks like inside the program. In the left side of the system, which is actually a calling system for the destination dest. So in your RFC, that is the SM59, we need to create the SAP system destination named as DEST. Okay, using that destination, it will call this specific SAP system or a logical system. So it can also call a logical system. Okay, we can also execute program directly in the destinations. However, if you are using ALE, that application link enable, ALE means that you will send the documents ALE format. In that case also you can create, basically there's something called logical system. We can create the logical system, then you can use this logical system to send this particular files, or you can also call the RFC destination directly from the source system. Okay, using the ABAP program. How does the system knows, how does this program knows what is dest? That's what we will do it in SM59, that we will create a RFC destination which will have what server and which client you need to log in, what is the user ID and password for this particular SAP system will be defined in SM59 in the dest. So the program wise, what we need to do is we need to simply call function to the remote system to the specific destination. For example, here is a dest, and you can execute the function modules there. Here also you can see some parameters: exporting, importing, changing tables, and these are all called the parameter of this particular function module. When we execute the function module, this RFC table read, you have seen some parameters, right? These parameter can be passed to the remote system using this parameters fields. Let's say if you go here to our SAP system, it's our ECC system SE37. Let's go back to the same function module, then say execute test. You can see import parameters. These are all the parameters which is required to execute this specific function modules. These are all called import parameters. Okay, so this we can define in the specific program. When you are creating the program, you can specify what is the importing parameter, what is the exporting parameter, what is going to be out from this. Like this, you can define inside the SAP system, then you call the specific function module in a different SAP system or a different non-SAP systems. Now let's have a look into what is BAPI means. A business application program interface, BAPI, is a standardized programming interface that facilitates, we can say, internal and external access of business process and the data in SAP systems. BAPI is defined in business object repository, that is BOR. Yeah, business object repository. You can basically call this business object repository using a transaction code. We can go to our system and check this. Let's see, we can go to SWO1. This is a business object repository. Here, in this repository, you can define the BAPIs. Okay, this is all stored in the business object repository. You create one repository and save all the objects here. Let's say if you go to the transaction code BAPI, here you can see the BAPI is organized in such a way. This is all relevant to that specific business object or specific business relevant functions. Okay, that is BAPI, and the BAPIs are stored in the BO, that's BOR, that is business object repository. For example, if you go back to our presentation, so business object, for example, that is employee absent is an object, business object. But if you say BAPI, which is business object, under this business object you have a BAPI which is employee absent approve. Okay, this is a BAPI which will do the approve function in this specific business object of employee absent. Okay, that is BAPI. And this BAPI we can use, for example, in ALE, that is the cross system data transfer or cross system business process, as well as we can also this also used by SAP in integrating various solutions of SAP business suites. They will use standard BAPIs to do all this business transfer. For example, even to connect internet we can use BAPI, or we can also use it for business workflow or for external programs, same like function module, but the BAPI is for one specific function in the business process. However, there is a slight difference, and function module you'll use it in SM37 for specific function. BAPI you will use it for a specific business process using BAPIs, which is anyway in the BOR. So if I go back to the system, let's see the BAPI again, then we can be quite clear about what is the difference between function module and BAPI. BAPI in turn calls the function module to do the specific functions. However, BAPI is more business oriented functions. Let's go to BAPI again. Let's go to the transaction BAPI. Then here you can see this is organized based on the business process. Let's go to alphabetical. Maybe we can take some of the example related to users. Go down. Okay, here we have user. Let's say, for example, user change. You wanted to change the user. Then this is the BAPI which is available to change the user. Okay, BAPI function module. Here you can see the function module. You can also use ALE message types. This is a message type we can use in ALE, and this is the business object comes under user. Method is changed, and this is the BAPI which we can use. For example, if you say display, and we have a BAPI which is for display, you can call this BAPI, or we can also execute this function module. If you go to /n or /o SE37, that is to run the function module. Then let's put the function module here, and let's say test. Okay, this is the function module which is used to display the users. Let's say our SAP basis is our user. Let's execute. then you can see this is the information which we get from that specific BAPI. Okay, that's a way we can use the BAPIs and function module. Now I believe it's more clear how the function module and BAPIs can be used. Okay, with this we are coming to the end of the session. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you in the next session. Bye bye.